everybody, Patriot Sons podcast episode 135. We do not have our resident Canuck here, but because we typically do Canuckville Tuesday, there might be people that will listen to this later. And it won't be super quick, but quickly kind of want to walk through what's going on in Alberta. I've had conversations with our resident Canuck, Edward, and just kind of explain this also for our American listeners. So, right now, currently, there's a petition. So you're seeing videos of people showing up to sign a petition. What this petition does after they get 174,000 signatures is demand that a vote goes to a referendum. The referendum would simply be, do we believe, vote on it, do we believe Alberta should become independent? That vote will happen, we believe, because Canada, from the best of my knowledge, doesn't structure their elections in the way we did constitutionally, that says they always happen the second Tuesday of November, or so we believe that's going to be in October. If that referendum is successful and the majority of Albertans vote yes, we want to succeed, there's a third step. They are not automatically independent, which is from our friend the Canuck. We understood that that was independence. No, now they have to actually negotiate, because there is a constitution, even though they're controlled by a monarchy, limited control. There's a constitution for Canada, and they have to negotiate their way out of the federal constitution, and there's a lot to play in there. So could it happen?
It's called Dominion status. It's called Dominion status, so they have their own worthless constitution. They do.
Yes. And so for everybody cheering for Alberta, I'm cheering for Alberta. I'm saying, just from the information we've given you on previous podcasts, it's not as easy as Edward makes it sound, but I'm still very hopeful, and it's totally plausible that they could legally do this over the next 18 months to 2 years.
Well, they're doing a lot more than Ontario, so the Canuck really needs to get busy up there. I don't know that the spirit of liberty lives in Ontario. They seem pretty happy with the hapless, overweight Doug Ford as their spokesman, and he regularly capitulates to the woke mob. The one time most notable was during the trucker strike, when they actually did something that really got the world's attention. They blocked that bridge to Detroit. And that was the first instance of police brutality. And Doug Ford and Gretchen Whitmer were all in with each other on clearing that, even before the overall protest got shut down. That was the big deal, was that bridge. And in fact, as a sidebar, the crossing at Coutts from Canada into the United States, it's a custom stop, I believe, probably Highway 25 going north into Canada, whatever it becomes up there, who knows. But my man Pastor Artur, he's like Calgary's Tommy Robinson. He gets arrested anytime they need a scapegoat, or anytime somebody that says something about Muslims, they go and arrest Pulowski, because he's a Polish minister, and he's seen what happened in Poland, and he doesn't want it to happen in Canada. So many of you may have seen his famous video where the Canadian Health Police came up and knocked on the door of his church during the Passover. And if you haven't seen it, I would recommend highly you go to YouTube or Rumble. I don't believe it's been suppressed, but he was he was at the top of the steps. I don't know what you're doing here. Get out. You disturb the church during the Holy Passover. I don't care what you say. This is Gestapo. And he went out into the streets screaming Gestapo at them as they retreated, and you saw the guys looking back and like, "Holy crap, who is this guy?" But obviously, that didn't mean the government would leave him alone. Oh hell no! I mean, he's been arrested 5 times. He's been incarcerated. He's this. He's that. I actually watched his church service over the weekend. He's actually a very good preacher, and let me say, as someone who does not attend regularly, if
As
Pastor
long as he knows
Artur,
more than me, we should be in.
yeah, if
Because I don't know
Pastor
that much.
if Pastor Artur had a local congregation within driving distance, I would be there every Sunday because that's what a holy man is supposed to do. He's supposed to stand up for the faith. He's supposed to stand up for the flock. He's supposed to hold the staff of the shepherd and keep the wolves at bay. That's exactly what he's supposed to do, not just serve donuts, run building funds, and keep the girls from bitching. That is not what the clergy is supposed to be about.
All right, fine. You're gonna make me do it. You're gonna make me do it. Have you seen the videos from this pastor in Minnesota doing exactly that and say, "I'm protecting my flock and
Right
I
ahead.
am going to sue people because Minnesota won't hold people accountable or criminally negligent."
You mean Tim Walz won't stand up for the faithful? Wasn't it 2 or 3 months ago? Tim Walz was going on about churches and how Trump has defiled churches and all that, and how we can never let that happen to our houses of worship. Am I misremembering? But all of a sudden, when the woke mob walks in with Don Lemon, all of a sudden churches are fair game as long as they're Christians. You'll notice it wasn't a synagogue, right? Anyway, just for what for what it's worth,
See,
that
well,
that
but
was a fiasco.
let's go ahead and spend 5 or 10 minutes on this specific thing because Don Lemon, I don't understand. I have an idea, but I don't understand why CNN platformed him for a while because he's proven over and over and over that he's very, very racist and he's very, very low IQ and can't understand what's going on in the world around him.
But come on, he's got black skin privilege.
No, well, I get what you're saying, but if he hold on, there are very and we've talked to some of them, very intelligent people with black skin who look at Don Lemon and go, "Holy crap, this guy's retarded. He literally can't understand the world around him."
Let's understand my term. Black skin privilege means the people sitting around Abby Phillips' table can say any
Yeah,
insulting,
I can't be a
racist,
racist. Okay. I
right,
can't be racist.
ridiculous thing to Scott Jennings, and there's absolutely no, I mean, Scott Jennings is fair game because they've got black skin privilege, especially if they're left wing. And on top of that, Royce White, who, I mean, we don't need to plug another podcast, but Royce is strong. He's an ex NBA guy, runs for office in Minnesota from time to time. I'm surprised
Yep.
we haven't heard more from him during this. I would have thought he'd been more vocal, or at least on the street or something.
Maybe I'll have to do some producer work and freaking try to get him on.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's too cold. I mean, I
Even
don't know.
for a 15-minute segment,
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
have.
no, he'd be great. But he points out that Don Lemon is an acceptable black person to the media because he's got lighter skin, he's got a higher voice, he's yeah, yeah. So it's the soft bigotry of low expectations. The one quote from George W. Bush that actually made sense, even though he never acted on
Well, I mean, and then you got one of the most racist presidents we've ever had, Joseph Robinette Biden. Everybody can remember when he said Barack Hussein Obama. He's this intelligent, good looking black man. We've never seen that before.
He's
I
articulate
saw it articulate. I saw it
and
way
clean,
before
clean.
Joe Biden ever saw it, and I've seen it, like, my entire life. I've never not seen it, and he's like, "Oh, he's the only one. He's the only black person we've ever
It's
seen
an
that's clean
acceptable
and
black.
articulate." God,
I try.
racism in the Democrat Party never ends. Never ends.
Hand in glove forever and ever. Amen.
But of
And
course,
it
Nancy
see,
Pelosi will blame all the people of Appalachia for sharpening their sticks and being retarded, because none of them ever go to school. They're just dumb white people.
when JD Vance's IQ is double hers. Yeah, okay, I've got you.
Man, it's hard to not see the irony. Uh, I brought this up. I don't think it was with you, but maybe it was a couple days ago. Is that I was making the comparison to college educated people, and their lack of intelligence, and trying to correlate that to, and this was in writing, I think it might have been on a podcast, and correlate that to most of the time that works out to being people less intelligent, more programmed in their behavior. And there's some exceptions, medical field, law field, sort of, where you go to 4 or 8 years of college or whatever, then you actually come out more intelligent. But I would say 90% of the people who've went to college since the 1950s have come out actually less benefited by that education than somebody who just had a high school education, whether it be woman or man, went out in the workforce and just read books, read newspapers, read on their free time, and then went to work.
I can testify. As an employer, I'm I'm running my front desk myself yet again because I asked a person who was college educated, had been a teacher, okay, to she kept insisting that we needed to update our pricing on certain services that had to do with bridal. And I said, go ahead. That's the kind of boss that I am, Sean. Okay, here's what our consultant says that the market prices are. You submit to me your prices. And she gets back to me, says, well, we've raised them. Okay. And she was bragging to me about how, hey, we booked our first wedding with the new prices. And I said, great. No, that's fantastic. Congratulations. The wedding went off. It actually was done well. Okay, so no criticism. She went to check out the wedding to make sure everybody gets paid, right? I mean, that's what you have to do. You have to run it through the software for the salon. The software for the salon has the transactions that create the paychecks. I'm sure you all understand it. It's like a time clock, but it's a time clock that has value associated with individual hours, okay, for lack of a better term. And it has a spreadsheet function in there where it basically adds up all the numbers, subtracts, adds the tips, adds this, adds that, adds your hourly, puts together, you get one big number, you send it to the payroll company, they send off the deductions, and you get the direct deposit. Not that hard, right?
Mm-mm.
Remember, this was the wedding that she had boasted to me that she had sold the wedding at the higher price and she had changed the price. Okay. So she went, this, I've heard this. She went to check out the wedding and she had probably $300 more in deposit than she had to pay out when she got done with it. And she decided unilaterally that what she should just do with that quote unquote extra money is pay 20% gratuities to everybody because the customer should have tipped more. And so she just put that in.
Okay.
Guess who was shorted in that scenario? Guess who lost half their revenue on that wedding? Right. The
The
person who
company.
employs,
The
yeah,
company.
who is the company? It comes out of my
Who
billfold.
who pays for the toilet they use when they're at work? Who pays for the electricity for their hair dryer? Who pays uh, for all the supplies that make those things
When
happen?
you say it's too cold in the building and you want more heat, who's going to pay to crank it up?
I mean, I know the answer. Maybe
Yeah,
somebody could
you
drop
don't
us
need, well,
a
no, I
comment.
mean, I'm sure the
Maybe I don't
people
know the
listening.
answer. Drop us a comment. Tell me who pays for
Yeah,
that.
you guys know the answer. I know the answer. The idea that you just freelance it and throw 20% gratuities for people that whose prices were supposed to be higher, and just let me specify in a commission environment. Yeah, some of that is their money, but not 100%. So what the hell do we raise prices for? So we can just give it away?
So I've been trying to explain to people for a long time. I've got to get into this.
But that's a college grad.
That's a
Forget that.
college grad.
Right.
So
There's
in a
not there's not a person looking up here at our listeners that would make that mistake because they've got sense.
there's a town in my area that DoorDash has now put in 18 robots, drones that fly through the air.
Is that right?
Yes, and I was having a conversation with my mother because I was like, "Fuck it, I have time. I'm gonna drive over to this town. I'm gonna check it out." By the way, you can find it on my page. I'm not gonna go look for it while we're live casting and show you, but it is on my X page. It's also it's on other social medias I have. I did not post it to Rumble, so go to X. Anyways, so there's 18 of these. I would say small lift drones. They lift 10 pounds. They can fly up to 10 miles away at speeds of 100 miles per hour with your Chipotle or your whatever it is.
All right. Nice and cooled down by
So
the time it
it takes
arrives. Yeah.
well, but it also takes out all traffic from the human beings who drive DoorDash,
Right.
right? No traffic because I'm just gonna go straight over it, right? And
Yeah.
I'm gonna land it, with the cable at your house. And I was explaining to my mom, I was like, "So these 18 robots," I was like, "probably replaced over 100 human beings." She's like,
That's
"Well, what?"
right.
I was like, "Well, because human beings that do these gig apps, they don't work them 18 or 19 hours a day. So you're gonna have shifts of human being DoorDash drivers that won't get an order now because the drone will take that gig from them. The whole South Park, they're stealing our jobs. They took our jobs. Is it's absolutely going to happen. Now, the other thing that was fascinating, and my mom said, "Well, you went over to this drone nest, this DoorDash drone nest. You got a little video footage." She goes, Was there, how many people were there?" I said, "None." And
No.
she goes, "But," because she knows from my brother's has a really fancy amateur drone. "Well, where's the people with the controllers?" I said, "There are none, Mom." She goes, "How does that work then?" I
All on
said, "They
GPS.
are AI robots. You order on the app, the drone knows to go pick your shit up, and it knows to drop it off in front of your house or your
Fly
apartment,
away.
whatever, and then it knows to return to its wireless charging station in the nest." And my mom was like, what the fuck are people going to do for work? And I said,
Is this your mom you're talking about? Your mom, you said? Did you say, Mom, did you vote for the last minimum wage increase? Did you take minimum wage to
Right?
$15, $20 an hour?
Were you in support of unionizing?
Yeah.
Which,
Mom,
of course, she would
did
have
you
been
did you
because
did you do that? I mean,
in
what could
her
it hurt,
time,
right?
at a different
Why don't we
time.
give them a week's vacation while we're at it too? What the hell? Everybody needs a vacation, right?
Oh no, no! We need 6 months of maternity leave and paternity leave.
There you go. That's right.
My robot doesn't need any of that.
No,
So when you're asking for all of these things and you think Bernie Sanders is the way to go, understand why robots are going to replace all of you
right?
in every job, literally every job. And the people who can afford to buy robot fleets in whatever field they're in, they will be much more successful than you. But you won't be left behind. You just won't be ultra.
Included.
You won't.
Right.
You won't be ultra wealthy, but you won't be left behind because things will, over a short period of human history, become so cheap and so abundant. Like when people are paying $1,000 a month just to buy a car right now, it might be $10 a month. Once you achieve full
Right.
optimization,
Yep.
and that may take 10 or 20 years. So thoughts?
Did she vote for the last minimum wage
It
increase?
all I will tell you is my mom. It blew her mind. She couldn't believe there was no humans
Did
at
she
all.
did she vote for the last minimum wage increase?
What I will tell you is she refused to vote for Trump and Kamala Harris and said she was only going to downvote underneath that.
Sounds like she voted for the last minimum wage
So
increase.
there you go.
If all you're going to do is raise the cost on the producer, they're going to find a more efficient means to get the product to market. And you're not going to give the raise to the people you think you're voting it to. You're going to give it to the robots. That's what happens.
It doesn't get much more simple than that.
Well,
I,
that's Adam Smith versus I don't know, Adam Levine, you know. I honestly don't understand why people can't see that. I will say actually in Missouri, this last minimum wage blast they got by a very small margin. But it's still, I mean, it's one of the reasons why, you know,
look,
we are where we are.
look through that though. If you look state by state, other than Gavin Newsom exempting his own restaurants from the state restaurant workers minimum wage, if you look state by state and go through all 50, there isn't a single job that pays minimum wage. They all pay above it. All of them. So
Well,
you can
speaking of
try to
Newsom,
force it all you want. But,
speaking of Newsom, did you see him over in Europe today, encouraging the EU to stand up to the United States government?
yeah, he's got a hope and a dream, and his
Yeah.
hope and his dream is that so the globalists will get him into the White House. I
I
I
had
don't
I had this.
I don't
Yeah,
think honestly that I don't think right now, if I'm looking at it in January of 2026, that he makes it through the primary because they're going to want to look for somebody even more socialist on the Democrat Party ticket, even more socialist than him. And I'm gonna it's probably AOC.
I yeah, I think she's the odds-on favorite.
Yeah,
No,
it's not another old white dude. I'll tell you that
no,
much.
no, Can you imagine her debating Vance? That would be some of the most fun I've ever had in my life watching that.
Well, what if it isn't Vance? What if it's Rubio?
Yeah, he's killer too. Oh, he's
Ru
terrible.
Ru
I
Rubio
mean,
just as
name
good,
your
if not
Republican as long as it's not Mitt Romney or John McCain. You know, they can
better.
do it.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter which one. We've talked about this for a couple of years now. The Republicans actually have a deep bench. There's nobody. There's nobody on the Democrat side.
The only place the Republican Party is hurting is in the Congress of the United States.
Yes. Want to
They
elaborate?
we lack representation. I mean, yeah, I'll be granular. All these bold promises about how we're going to hold the line on this, we're going to hold the line on that. Most of us would just settle for, hey, how about we quit funding people that are trying to overthrow our government as a first start. So we got a test case. There's an agency, a three-letter agency called the National Endowment for Democracy, the NED. Now that sounds great. Wouldn't we? Don't we love democracy? Well, no, actually we don't, because
Well,
democracy is,
do we
in
love
other words, mob
education?
rule. Right,
I
right.
mean, the words make it sound like that we
Wonderful.
should want to fund this, right?
Right. But we don't, because all it does is stir up overseas forever wars and propaganda against against Western civilization, and it basically is like USAID, but just a different subsection of people doing the exact same destabilization things around the world as the U.S. In hopelessly corrupt intel services tell them to do. So that should be an easy one. Let's just get rid of it, right? 127 Republicans agreed. Wait a minute. I thought there were
81.
218. Yeah, there are. Yeah, the other 100 voted to keep it.
Yeah.
And there you have it. The Democrats and those 100 rhinos soundlessly basically smacked down that initiative. So the National Endowment for Democracy gets to keep their ill-gotten funding to create their mischief. Aren't you happy, taxpayers? Now, who were the leading people that kept it? Well, it was people like, uh, Swallow. He likes it, and
No,
and
there were
my,
81 Republicans that said, "Yes,
yeah,
more fraud, please."
my congressperson, the great Ann Wagner, the one who has her kitchen table in the back of her pick 'em up truck to talk about kitchen table issues with people in her district as they issue, and she's all grassroots until she gets there. Then she votes for every deep state thing you can possibly imagine, including the funding of radical gay, transgender militant groups necessary to destabilize these governments so that their government will fold and do what our security state wants them to do. That's the name of the game for the National Endowment for Democracy, the same way it is for USAID.
It's
It
it's U
is
it's USAID, it's NED, and there's many of these things, and just to be clear so people understand, this is
The
how
Institute for Peace. They all have nice names and all do the same
yeah,
thing.
United Nations. Ah, sounds great. Uh, so that you all understand, basically, once the money is distributed by Congress, then they have no oversight of it, which they claim they have
Right.
oversight of all the money. They don't. They send it to all of these other things, and then you get MI5, which is basically our State Department. You get and
Oh,
that's where all the people that hate the Jews. That's where you get Israel involved. This is where you get Saudi Arabia involved. This is where you get, and then we've explained this to all of you. This is where London launders it through the Virgin Island banks that they
yes.
own.
This is where Epstein's money came from, is stuff like this. This was
Yes.
intel. This was intel
He
money.
was not a rich guy. He just had a shit ton of government money to play
That's
with.
right. And keep in mind, when the National Endowment for Democracy gets funded, who does it pass the money to? NGOs. Corrupt NGOs. I'm sorry for repeating myself. The reason a non governmental organization is formed is to do the things that government isn't constitutionally
Mhm.
permitted to do, that
Yes.
the intel services want done. So you fund them, and then they're able to do the dirty stuff with 6 degrees of separation from the person who voted to fund it, as well as from the people who are actually doing the deed.
Well,
That's
and
it.
all right, so now that at least some people have been exposed to this information, let's look at Elon and Doge. And when you see Elon coming out of, he was obviously the contract was only for so long because he was appointed and not allowed or not or sorry, not appointed. He wasn't appointed by the
Right.
Senate.
He was temporary.
It was temporary. When he comes out, why he was so pissed. It's because he's like, I just opened the books up and I haven't even started yet. My team showed you Minneapolis, and you get all of you in Congress and the Senate are like, man, I bet I can get a bunch of banger tweets out of that and then vote for more of it. I will fund it again. And Elon's like, I'm out, bitches.
Well, the other thing is this: what Elon has learned, if he's paying attention, is that he was trying to do it from the top down, and you're never going to get there like that. What you need to do is get yourself a YouTube account, get yourself a camera, and a 23-year-old who will work his ass off because he thinks he has no future with how the government is spending money, and send him in there with the facts to confront the perpetrators, and all of a sudden you'll have a national issue. Nothing that Nick Shirley has disclosed wasn't known. Nothing.
No, and
Not
his expert
nothing.
witness has been trying to expose it, but his expert witness was not 23 years old. He was
Well, his expert
65 years
witness
old.
was, and I try
A
not to
65-year
flatter us,
old.
Sean, but he was a guy like us who's like, hey, this really sucks. And here, let's write this down because somebody's got to care about this. And, I'll get all the documentation. I'll get this, I'll get that. Then he writes letters to the editor of the Minneapolis Star. Yeah, I can't believe that didn't work.
Well, and
Then he,
I also get that that obviously the paper of record in Minneapolis, the Minneapolis Star. I am not shocked by that, but there was also a year ago local TV reporting on this
yes,
very issue, and we've talked about this whether it was on podcast or offline. The reason, and this would have been like on NBC or CBS locally, the reason the story never made it up to the national level is because there was some guy in Minnesota that was running to be vice president of the United States.
it's true. Wasn't, uh, isn't he affectionately known as retard?
I think I
Well, maybe it's not that affectionate.
he doesn't have a lot up there. He does not. The jazz hands are weird, but I know.
He's weird. He's weird.
I don't I can't.
The lesson that we learned from this entire, and it is a fiasco at this point, even though now people are on it. And I hear Noam said today, Christie, the cowgirl, said that they've arrested 3,000 illegal aliens up there. Well, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. Did you get Pam Bondi with him? Yeah? Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
I have a question for everybody. Please drop a comment, and I'm not talking about the cheap streambo comments. You grifting bastards that drop this shit in our comments. Can anybody tell me if a does anyone know what a grand jury is to begin with? Should I explain that quickly before I ask the question? I probably should.
I do something really short, but yeah, I would.
All right, so a grand jury is put together to decide. It's a panel. It's like a jury, but the grand jury is put
Well,
together
they even say
to
a grand jury's been impaneled. In other words, they sat 21 people down to give
to
testimony.
okay, but they are there to hear evidence from a prosecutor. I could explain this very long form. I'll choose not to, but the prosecutor is allowed to present all kinds of evidence, even if the evidence really it doesn't make sense to the
There are
grand
no
jury.
there are no courtroom rules of evidence in a grand jury. They're just allowed to present what they know.
And what the whole purpose of a grand jury is to see is if a grand jury would present indictments, meaning a charge against somebody.
In fact, for all of you out there, regular and non-regular listeners, this grand jury thing is the thing that our DOJ doesn't do when the perpetrators are Democrats. They get a criminal referral. They may even get a subpoena for tests. They may get this, they may get that. And then at that point, the music stops unless a grand jury is assembled, impaneled, whatever you want to call it, and you sit down and they go through the stuff. They go through Letitia James's portfolio of properties and say, do you think there's enough here to attempt to prosecute her for mortgage fraud? And the
Mhm.
grand jury says, yes or no. And if the grand jury says yes, then there's an indictment. That's how it works.
So now that we walked through that, does anybody can please anybody who listens to this tell me they believe a grand jury of peers from Minnesota would indict any of the people listed in the subpoena, whether it be Tim Walz or the Attorney General. Uh, all right, now
I
you
would
see where
say
I'm going.
I would say it depends on whether you get sit the grand jury in Minneapolis or whether you sit it up closer to Canada. There is a regional difference in how
I
Minnesota.
know, I totally agree with you, but
Well,
my
it's the same as with Indianans. You know, those Indianans that are closer to Chicago are more urban and more urbane. All right. Whereas those down around IU country would be much more likely to enforce law and order. Those are the kind of Indianans I like.
well, I think that's fair, but
Sean, the Missouri Mules are large on the ground
what
in
but
Missouri. I mean, Trump wins this state by 20 points, but in St.
well,
Louis County, Cory Bush got elected to Congress. So you know draw what and
Jesus
Wesley Bell is
Christ.
there now. Whatever conclusion you want to draw from that, go ahead and draw it. But Jasmine could do quite well in St. Louis County. Okay.
Sidebar, but I wonder how she does in Texas now.
Texas? Oh yeah. Oh, would that not be a circus or what? Kenny
Yeah.
Paxton and Jasmine Crockett. Oh,
Well,
I
no,
could totally see that.
I asked the question because I don't know how. I'd have to look at the federal district courts and their jurisdictions inside of Minnesota, and I'm still guessing even the super red areas, the people who would love to be impaneled on a I think I'm gonna just say I'm making a prediction. If you're going on Polymarket, dude, it's your money, not mine. So it's your money to lose or win. Nothing, I mean, nothing happens from these grand jury
Minnesota,
subpoenas. Nothing.
in Minnesota.
in
I
Minnesota.
mean, is it a subpoena for a grand jury? I mean, is
It
that
was a
what there's?
subpoena for a grand jury, so they have not been
And
charged
so, no, no, let me
with
ask:
anything, of
is
course.
a DOJ prosecutor going to do this, or is it going to be a Minnesota prosecutor?
It's DOJ, but they're gonna use the jurisdiction of Minnesota.
Right, but they're going to use the same guy that lost the indictment for Letitia James and Comey, right? After Lindsay Halligan had 2 hours to study for it and indicted both of them, but the guy who'd been doing it for 14 years couldn't figure out how to do it, right?
Well, you get where I'm going. Does
Well, yeah,
everyone
the fix that what you're saying is that the fix is in, and I'm not disagreeing.
And there will be for Pam Bondi and Harmeet Dillon plausible deniability
Liability.
because we tried. We put them under grand jury investigation and nothing
Yeah.
happened. So it's on you, Minnesotans. And everybody's going to go, I really fucking hate this system.
Well, can I make one observation that's not related to this point? Because you brought up her name. Harvey Dillon is one of those rare women that keeps getting more attractive as she gets older.
She's a badass. Badass. She's sitting
Just
there all posted at 10:30 at night,
yeah,
Eastern time, knitting
she's single
hats
now.
for preemie babies, in the same post saying, "I have a lawsuit I'm working on against this."
Yeah.
Ho
Well,
holy
I,
shit.
I wish I
Should
wish she was
she
the I wish
should
she was the
she have been
Attorney General of the United
the
States.
AG? Yeah. Should she have been the AG? Because she don't fucking sleep.
No, no. I mean, her husband died a few years ago, so I mean, she's obviously still got a lot of career energy. But I'm just pointing out, I'm watching her in these interviews, and I'm swooning. And that's not normal for me. I remember my first memory of her was as a doing Fox hits with Ingram, which was some of the most boring TV I've ever seen in my life. And why in the hell do you have this? Oh, harmonica on or whatever. My thought was that this girl didn't have it, but no, I was wrong. It was Ingram that didn't have it. And this is a great guest, and you could get a lot out of her. But Laura Ingram has no idea how to do it. She's still the same bubblehead she was back when she was 30 and driving around in her Lexus or whatever.
I
Sorry, not
I
sorry.
I will compliment that discussion by saying I use the 21-day free trial of YouTube TV so I can watch the College Football World Series. But while I've had it, I've been enjoying the multi-screen, 4 screens, YouTube, and so I can watch the idiots on CNN, Fox News, ESPN. They're also idiots too, if you
Oh,
don't know.
they're the worst. They're,
And
they're,
then,
they're actually
and then I
further
would
left than
throw,
CNN.
and then I would throw up a local channel, and I would just set the closed captioning on to whichever box I was on, and really not listen, but at least I could see what the idiots were talking about. And, oh, by the way, I sent in my cancellation notice today. It was accepted. I won't have to pay for it anymore. I got to
Congratulations.
watch college football playoffs for free. Thank you.
Beginning to end, and it ended the way all Indianans wanted it to end, right?
And I have had the opportunity for the last 20 days to watch all of the shows on Fox. Laura Ingraham
Yeah.
is not as smart as the Patriot Sons podcast. She
No,
doesn't see where things are going and she blames it on the wrong things. She just
always.
happens to have 8 million people that watch her show, the TV watchers that we talk about.
They started doing it years ago, and Rush identified the phenomenon. She and Ann Coulter hit the political world together as the two blondes, blonde conservative women when Fox News Channel first got started.
They were info babes, but when they
Yes.
were giving info, now they're opinion babes.
Right. And went first over to the dark side of falling in love with her opinion, and she was able to fake it for a while, and then she went completely off the reservation, and she's basically the white Candace Owens. And I know Candace gets a lot more shit, but so many people, and this is a phenomenon in the United States that no one else is going to tell you other than on the Patriot Sons podcast. First of all, I'm a Charlie Kirk fan. I told everyone who would listen that I thought Charlie was too soft and too conciliatory, but overall, I admired his work ethic. And the fact is, the dude was on point. He's a far better husband than I could ever be. He was actually a better man than I am. Okay, so as I say, I'm criticizing him. It was for things like this, like when Bannon would start to rip on something, he'd shush him and say, "Remember, we're on YouTube. We don't want to get, just sack up, will you? Would you quit worrying about the damn censors?" But the fact is, Charlie was dedicated to trying to overcome the censors. But he absolutely was media savvy. That's my point. And driven. And one of the things that he did to crack the door open for himself was he played the race card. But he didn't do it in the way that most conservatives do by by being like what Sean Hannity did, where he would go on and have on goofball blacks to, like Jasmine Crockett, and then make fun of them, and reinforce white racist stereotypes. No, no, no. Charlie did a 180 on that, and his first natural ally and closest ally was Candace Owens. And the
Mhm.
reason, and I don't want to sound like Joe Biden, but she was articulate, beautiful, sarcastic, and direct. And Americans so want to have good racial manners that they come across someone like that and they almost think they have a superpower.
I think not just Americans, I think Westerners,
Western
including Europe.
civilization. Right. And I got to tell you, at first, I thought she was Turning Point. I didn't realize that was Kirk's organization because she was the only one that talked. She was the only one who got any airtime. Oh, Charlie Kirk and Candace were, Antifa in Philadelphia. I'm like, oh God, I hope nothing happened to her. And I'm like, who's Charlie Kirk? I mean, that's exactly that was exactly the reaction. And
Well,
he's the founder of the organization, but yet she was the public face until he got critical mass.
she was, and I can explain her, but
She was his icebreaker.
what she was doing though was saying things that would break her through
White noise.
to,
Yeah.
into infamy and go, oh, I can go to these colleges and all these young white
Social
people
justice
will
warriors. Right.
show up and I can explain to them. And I'm not saying everything she was saying was bad because, but you
No.
have to understand if you look at the course
Listen,
of,
listen, listen. Candace is an equal opportunity employer with the truth. If the truth is what's going to get her attention, she'll tell it. But she isn't selective. Anyway, go ahead.
and if the truth won't get clicks,
Right.
she's totally
What
willing to say, Jewish space lasers. I know that's a
by
different
any
stick, it's
means
a white
necessary, right?
stick, but
She
by
morphs into
any means necessary, she will attack the internet to get clicks.
she'll morph into Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, it's absolutely the same thing. You guys gotta realize these are archetypes. And Candace is an attention whore. That's what she is. And yet Charlie was savvy enough to use that as long as he needed it and then to cut her loose when he didn't need it anymore. And that was his genius.
He used Steve Bannon.
Yes.
He absolutely used Steve
The
Bannon.
same way Natalie's doing.
Dude, does Steve Bannon realize that Natalie's just gonna
No,
fucking take
no,
over
he's
the whole network?
oblivious. He thinks he's going to run for president. It's
Really? You think?
yeah,
Holy shit! Steve Bannon for president? Yeah, he's gonna get
yeah.
like 2 fucking votes in whatever state he runs in.
Well, it would have to be if he lives near a border. It would be both from him.
I mean, it's not like look, alright, it's not that people don't like Steve Bannon. It's that only, like, 1,000 people like Steve Bannon. He could no, there might be 10,000 or maybe even 100,000 out of 350,000,000 American voters that really like to hear what Steve Bannon says, and that's okay. That's why you have people on the radio like Jim Rome. Jim Rome, very popular with his audience. The rest of the world hates to hear him. And let's just be honest about what it is. So that's what you got with Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon also still saying, I have the plan to get Trump reelected in 2028. And the rest of the world going, dude, we're
Right.
ready for JD or we're ready for Marco or we're ready to finally change after after after
Look, look,
12
look.
years. Let's just
The world.
and Bannon's still out there being a retard about it, and he's got this gem on his channel, this absolute gem. Just she's inside the White House. She's reporting inside the White House, and I just don't. Sometimes people don't realize when they became irrelevant. So Natalie
Listen,
Winters, Natalie Winters,
Washington,
you know what? She will just create her own channel.
even Raheem cut him loose. I mean, Raheem is now a restaurateur in DC. He's not on Bannon's show at all.
Does anyone know that Raheem is actually British?
Yeah, he's a British Muslim, right? I mean,
Mhm.
he's from either India or Pakistan or something, right?
Super smart. Super but does any like, if you guys think Raheem is, pro-American, you need to understand he's just really, really smart at reading the room. He is
Oh
not
yeah.
American.
He wants to sell you steak. That's what he wants.
Steak and books, 'cause he
Yeah,
he
and look, I mean, Trump's crackdown on crime in DC came at the right time for a startup restaurant. I think they're full every night. Yeah,
the pizza tracker accounts on X are awesome. Specifically the Pentagon pizza tracker account.
they-
They don't really predict anything, but they're fun to watch.
well, just to close the loop on this, I cannot think of another example of a young man who showed such savvy about race relations to use and I'm using use to make an alliance with a black woman grifter as a door knocker to basically open the door to power for his organization as Charlie did. And that's truly mastermind type stuff. That's the thing that convinces me that he could have been president because he understands how deals get made the same way Trump does. And we did suffer a great loss when he got shot. No two ways about it.
No,
And you see a lot of everyone says, oh, the infighting, we wouldn't be infighting if Charlie was around. Yeah, we would, but he'd be a
oh,
voice of
we absolutely
reconciliation.
would. We
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
would, and Charlie wouldn't be able to stop any of that
He wouldn't be able
infighting.
to
Hey,
stop it, but he'd make it
I think we
better.
got, what, like, 5 minutes left? Let's explain the difference between infighting against the Republicans like you and I versus the Democrats being always lockstep.
Some of you guys might think that Sean and I agree on everything, but I can tell you that's not true. We have differences on certain things. and I won't even bring them up, but they're nothing that we're going to fight about because we realize we're on the same team. And if you can get 80% ally, it's golden, So the finer points of, well, let's put it this way: I don't think he and I see Israel exactly the same way. All right, but at the same time, we both acknowledge that there's great influence for Israel in the United States and that it's a mixed blessing. And just leave it there as opposed to saying who's really in control of, that's where you really go off the rails when you start talking about why or what's the ultimate motivation of this or that. Look, if the policy is good for our nation, Sean and I are behind it. And we're America first. That's good enough.
And and I absolutely agree with you, which is why we do so many podcasts together. But when you, if you could explain it to the left, who march in absolute lockstep, when you look at the right, who have conversations like you and I do, and we figure it out, and you don't see that on the left, what would you tell them?
I would tell them as to why it's that way is because the left wing, the Democrats, must have control of power for their program to work because the funding of everyone on the left comes from control of government. And currently, those are NGOs with bloated budgets, and they've run it up to 7 trillion. And once the Democrats get control, like what you see going on in Virginia right now, Abigail Spanberger is setting the entire state on fire after running as a moderate, and it's just a huge left-wing power grab, like they always do. I mean, this is what Democrats do, but they can't do it without the public purse. Sean is the strongest person I've ever met on the idea about how much money has to do with everything that you're seeing. And in fact, that's the thing that Trump, Sean, and I understand about what's going on. Trump is not so worried about arguing with people in public or convincing anybody. He's just concerned with cutting off money for things that he doesn't agree with, because once you cut off money, then those things don't happen. And I think that's where he's going in Iran. I think he's going to starve the regime until the regime falls. That's what he's doing, and we won't have to lose any lives or get involved in a forever war to do it. And the reason the left doesn't like that is because there's a great possibility for payolas for them if Iran's government stays in. Okay.
He
Last,
is.
last,
He,
last
oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Last but not least, the Republican Party is not really even a political party.
Boo!
Basically, the Republicans take home all the money that from Republican fundraising, whether or not the Republicans win election. In fact, they're actually happier when we lose because then we contribute more because we want to win. The Democrats harness the apparatus of government to pay themselves, but Republicans only get paid when the consultants take their first cut. And that's not a formula for sustained power. And we have to address that if we want to be taken seriously.
The Sultans of Swing. The
Yes.
Sultans.
Consultants of swing. Yeah.
The Sultans of Swing.
Consultants of
Yep.
swing. That could be the new title of the
Man.
show. Look
You
at
know
Frank
what?
Luntz. How fat has that son of a bitch gotten on campaign contributions?
They all do. The
All
only
of
and
them.
that and you know what? But what is your, if you walked into your local grocery store and asked somebody, "Do you know who Frank Luntz is?" No
No idea.
clue. So there's this big gap between people like you and me who are very plugged in to the political system. We're well aware of what's going on. We can explain it. And the people who say, I just don't have time for that. For whatever reason, they believe they have no time for it.
Well, they don't
How do
think
we
they'll
get
make
them
any
plugged in? because
I don't
they
think it'll
should
make
have
any
time
difference.
for it. It affects their entire life. Or is it not affecting their entire life because we are funding it through welfare?
Right, right. And the fact is, when Republicans in Congress act like they've acted this past couple of years, how do you argue with these people that it doesn't make any difference? I mean, you've got this entire agenda that you need to enact, and John Thune just is saying, we're not going to vote on any of it. The votes aren't there. Hey, John, if you were serious about the agenda, you'd have votes anyway and show us who's against it. But no, we're not going to do that because
Well, he could also in the filibuster.
yeah,
Uh,
no, 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 no,
uh,
no.
Republicans and their morals. I would never do anything
By the
about
way,
morals.
that red MAGA Ted Cruz is one of the hard nose on the filibuster. You like that? Yeah. Hey, Texas, can you bounce? Can you bounce Red Ted? We'd be better off with a fucking
Uh,
Democrat.
no, going into we're running close to the end of this. Going into the midterms, I think I still believe, even all the bitching we've done, I do not predict a blue wave. I don't.
No,
But let's just do like 5 minutes, and then I'll close this out. I promise.
right.
I believe Trump just needs two victories here. He's already done it with gasoline prices, but let's get into. He needs to drive down some other prices, which he could do with monetary policy. Obviously, that you're going to say, well, the Fed's going to stop. Nobody's going to stop Donald Trump from doing whatever he's going to do, including taking Greenland. So
Go
just
on.
calm down, girl. Calm down,
He, need,
girl. It's going to
he
be
needs to
fine.
he needs to arrest some people.
Is yeah, I would say that would be the most important thing. And if
Well,
he does, not that it's actually his responsibility, but if he does, if he brings down prices a little more and he arrests some high profile people. High profile, not the and everyone's gonna go, well, he got
not 3,000 illegals in Minneapolis.
yeah,
Nobody gives
3,000
a
illegal
shit about
rapists.
that.
Well, yeah, we want the 3,000 illegal rapists arrested. We do.
Right.
We want to see somebody high profile.
We need we
I
need
think
Adam
he
Schiff.
actually walks in to the midterms and has not a change, but about the same party he has now.
We need Adam Schiff in handcuffs.
Russia, Russia, Russia.
Is
That
anybody
just that one alone, JC.
is anybody
People
more
will
guilty? Is anybody more guilty than him?
people will
He
show
committed
up.
his crimes in broad daylight on television.
All of Gen X and all of boomers would show because they don't show up in midterms, would show up in the midterms if he just got Adam Schiff arrested for Russia, Russia, Russia.
And if when what you're not thinking about is the characteristics of Gen Z, they're the people who say, we don't have a chance. Now gas prices are coming down. If he really does significant mass deportations between now and July, housing prices will come down.
Jobs will become open.
Right. Jobs will open up. And Gen Z believes the system is so corrupt that they're willing to just have a fire sale and forget about the whole thing. But if he shows you he can take five scalps from people that we know about and the tone changes. He can be Franklin Roosevelt for those young voters, the guy who turned it around and gave them hope. That's still doable.
Could you imagine?
But you've got to either get rid of Pam Bondi or make her do something. I mean, she's a Pfizer lobbyist, for Christ's sake. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, I did. I don't know if our
Yeah,
audience
I mean,
did.
I don't know if our viewers know that. She's worked for Pfizer, for Christ's sake. I mean, are you think Fauci's going to get arrested by her?
Oh God, no.
Right. But that's what. But no, no, no. But that's the kind of thing that has to happen.
Well, all right. To be
You think
clear, I
it's
already
that
laid
unthinkable?
out in Minnesota. There's not going to be any meaningful indictments. That's because of the way we have set up our judicial system. And we have imported people who will impanel a jury that says, they're not guilty of anything. Fuck that shit. So I'm not, all right, hold on. I'm still mad at Pam Bondi. There are lots of things that our federal judicial system could do, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. I need
Or
to post. I need to post TikTok videos.
and
That's what's pissing everybody off.
there are many venues too when you go to get an indictment. You can bring a case against Fauci in Texas. All right.
I've asked you this for the last 3 years. Why has, and this would be healing to the U.S. or to the planet. Why has not Putin's
I know
judicial system arraigned and prosecuted through a grand jury similar to ours, Dr. Science, because he committed crimes against his people?
By the way, in case you're wondering, I'm not limiting this to Fauci or Adam Schiff. Those are just two of my top guys. I mean, if Robert F. Kennedy's work at HHS could allow us to arrest Bill Gates for his, I mean, for his obvious attempts at genocide in Africa and sterilization of indigenous populations and all the stuff that he's done, he's an absolute war criminal. But the point is that if people like that just continue to skate, then what difference does
Uh,
it make who you vote
well,
for?
if America has, or we've talked about this on our Bible study cases, if America in the total global scheme are just eunuchs, I ask again, why can't Vladimir Putin arrest doctors or indict
Because
Dr.
because he wants
Science?
a because he wants a favorable settlement in Ukraine.
Well, I think he can get
And
it.
obviously more than one person has a vote on that.
I think he can get it. And the other thing is that's not really up to anybody
Yeah,
other than
yeah,
Donald
yeah.
Trump
I
right
know.
now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And Donald
He'll
Trump
just
is
drop his
incredible.
weapons, abandon his evil ways, and learn to love us. I know that sounds like
No,
the
no, no,
Democrat.
no, no, I'm not saying that. No, well, listen, he actually the other way around, he's
Yeah.
been begging to build a partnership with the United
Oh,
States.
I know, as a
Uh,
trading partner, but that's about money. That's not about
also with also
prosecuting a Nazi doctor, which is what
well,
Dr.
G's
Science
not gonna do
is.
who do I go to? G's not gonna do it. G helped create the virus. So, the only
And
one I could
and
see
I've been
that
trying
could
to take those
pull it off.
biolabs in Ukraine away from Fauci for years. Anyway, all right. I mean, he could have. I guess he could bring suit against him for contaminating his biolabs in Ukraine.
I'm just gonna go crimes against humanity.
Fair enough.
And I would love,
I,
the weirdest thing that would be, after Davos happens this week, or as our friend Edward, who normally is here with us tonight, but he's got
Who?
a little bit of
Oh
the
yeah, that guy.
poopies and the
Yeah,
pukies. So that is for everybody that's listening, because they expected to hear our Canuck friend. He's not
well,
feeling well.
he'd be in high moral dudgeon about Canadian libtard women by now, so you just need somebody to remind you.
Well, well, I have laid out a plan that would lawfully work globally. Is that Russia calls for the indictment? Indictment's a totally different thing. We just explained that
Grand
in
jury.
Minnesota and how it will not work against Tim Walz and the whole rest of a lot of them. But that Russia could bring an indictment on the global stage against Dr. Science. And hey, Putin, if you're listening to this podcast, I would love if you would do that.
Yeah, and it'll only cost you $3,000 an hour if you want to talk to either Sean or myself.
Yeah, we'll lay the whole thing out.
Fair enough. We got the plan.
All right, let's close this thing up.
Take care, brother.